Special edition of Podcast Champs. Damian, Salty G, Damian G347, DEO, my boy Dio. I'm just DEO on Twitter. Find us on multiple streaming avenues and platforms. Dio, it is good to have my brother back. What is good?
Hey, just living life.
Are you living your best life, sir?
I don't know about my best life. I'm like living like a mid-range. Like
define mid-range life, sir.
Mid-range life, like I still have to pay bills. So it's mid-range life. Still have to pay bills. I still have to go to work. I haven't won the lottery yet. So, I'm just mid-range right now.
We're still working on that lottery.
Still working. Hey, let me win that lottery. I am going to act stupid when I win the lottery. Just be the wild hypocrite and do stuff that I said I would never do. So, yeah.
If you won the lottery, what would you buy? What would you do with the money?
Well, first off, I would first things first. I would actually go directly to a lawyer that's specifically for winning the lottery and such. Mm-hmm. I'll make sure that I put shit aside so that I won't be broke in a year and a half. And then I'd take like $5 million out in the beginning and just be dumb. I would travel and just buy shit I have no business buying, and buy enough stock in like certain companies whereas I can do as I see fit with making them do stuff.
So basically you'd be like Danny Rand taking over like corporations and just making it run your way?
Absolutely.
I like that. Absolutely. That makes me happy.
Absolutely. So
trying to think, if I won the lotto, I think the first thing I would do, bye credit card debt, bye.
Oh yeah, that's gone.
I'm buying my Dodge Charger. I don't care if it doesn't have good gas mileage. I think it looks like a transformer. I'm buying it. I don't care. And aside from that, I will travel to all types of wrestling and sporting events and be that guy, like that dude in WWE that shows up.
The weird guy. Yeah, he's part of the Illuminati. I don't give a fuck what like you can't have that much. You can't have at that point. You're not rich, right? Because you are front row. Front row tickets at WWE shows are stupidly expensive, and he goes to all of them, all over the world. He and I guess it's his mom are always there. They're not rich. Mm-hmm. They're wealthy.
Define the difference for people.
Okay, when you're rich, right? Rich is if you make over, say, about $150K a year, you're rich. Like that's past well off. Like, or because what they say, once you get past about $120,000 per year, expenses don't really mean a ton to you at that point. So, like, I would classify rich as being from about the 120 to $5 million a year, type people, right? Mm-hmm. Wealthy folks are the ones who have not like generational wealth. Generational wealth is one thing. This is old world money. Usually, these are folks that are in the, past the tens of millions, and you are into the close to 100 million to $1 billion range. Those are wealthy people. Wealthy people, their kids, their kids' kids won't have to worry about money ever. Like they could lose 50% of their worth, and their kids could still live very lavishly.
Okay.
For the next couple hundred years. So yeah, that's how I see if you're still bitching and moaning about car note, you're not rich yet. You're not rich yet.
If you have a car note, you're not rich if you have a car note.
Right. If wealthy is buying an island, there you go. If you can buy an island, or you can just go somewhere and you don't worry about how much it costs anymore, you are wealthy.
Ah, I see. So I am way off that base because I am no longer wealthy.
Shit, we're all in the check to check range right now. So
for me, the next 2 years, I'm just putting away a little bit of money here and there and do my travels and eat and have my roof over my head. I'll be good. I'll be all right. I'll be all right. I won't be showing. Maybe I'll show up to indie shows in the front row.
There you go.
That'll be me. I'll be the indie guy that's always in the front row at every indie show, because for a while there last year, people were saying that that's who I was. Like they would see me on streams or like on Twitter, like, dude, what do you do for a living that you're always at indie shows at every single show and you live in New York? And I'm like, man, listen,
I sell crack.
I said airline miles are a beautiful thing.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
They are a beautiful thing. And I actually had to tell somebody this, that you don't need the credit card to get airline miles. As long as you're part of the frequent flyer club of whatever airline, you don't need their credit card for their airline miles.
Right.
Like I had to explain that to one of my old clients who has gotten themselves into a lot of debt. And they said it was from traveling by getting all these like airfare cards. And I just wanted to slap them from across the table. Like, what is wrong with you? Stop wasting money, you stupid idiots. But well, that's neither here nor there. But definitely travel. Definitely, I'd probably buy a house in another country and use that as an Airbnb to keep a steady stream of income coming, even though I have like all the money I need.
Yeah.
But you never know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, like if I did, I would go to Bermuda and I would buy out because it's the most expensive. The city of Hamilton, the capital of Bermuda, is the most expensive city in the world to live in. Mm-hmm. So I would buy cash, a couple of the like waterfront properties, and then I would just rent that out to other rich people, and I'd make my money back quick. So yeah, that's that is what I would do. And I could even go as far as like make it an Airbnb and sell those things dirt cheap, and people would I'd still make, of
course you would,
hand over fist. So yeah,
it's shoot. I look at my apartment now in Texas. I don't have a lot of furniture. Like I got a couch, a coffee table, a bed, like the basic necessities. If I really wanted to, I could stay elsewhere and still rent this out as Airbnb and charge like $200 a night in the middle of Dallas. And then somebody would probably pay me at least that once a week. And I'm like, you know what? That might not be such a bad idea one day. It's like, I need the extra $300. Let's do this. But that's neither here nor there, because, wealth and rich, and basically when you're rich or if you're wealthy, whatever one you want to be, it's all about how you use your money. Like I would literally buy the Damian Gracia Youth Center. Like I would start my own not-for-profit youth center and just have my name on the building. I'd be that guy. Right. Like I feel like that could be, and maybe I'll ask you this question. If I want to put my name on the side of a youth center building and I'm still alive, does that make me egotistical?
No. Who else are you gonna name it after?
Some great person in history, Charles Xavier. I don't know.
Charles Xavier is, well, first and foremost, Charles Xavier is a fucking terrible person to name something after. Charles Xavier is the actual villain in X-Men canon, if we're really being real about it.
Yes, I know.
Nasty, lecherous old man literally turned Wolverine into his own attack dog, lusted after a young Jean Grey, was a deadbeat father like Drake. Like we can go down the list as to why he's trash, but neither here nor there.
Yeah.
If you want to name it after yourself, absolutely, especially if you're doing good. Now it's egotistical if you do it just for the sake of doing it and don't really say shit about it. And it's just, that's all you're doing it for. You're not actually trying to help anybody. That's when it's egotistical. But like if you're actually doing something and doing good, I don't see a problem with it.
Okay, good. Because that's the end goal for me, because my new job down here in Dallas is going to be working with a homeless youth. So I feel like that's like the next step for me would be, I ran a not-for-profit in Brooklyn, successfully. So I know how the ins and outs of the finances and things like that. I've already been working with kids for 14 years. I feel like the next plausible step would be for me to actually have my name on the side of the building, like the Damian Gracia Youth Center or something like that, you know? And that's something that for me, that's my goal. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because, for those just tuning into Podcast Champs, we're talking about what we would do if we won the lottery. So that's what I would do. Maybe I would start my own indie promotion. Maybe I'd start an indie pay-per-view, and be all in about it.
Ugh. All in.
Yeah. Well, Now that I mentioned that, this weekend, my friend, is All In. For those of you who are in Chicago or going to Chicago, I'll be there. Myself and my broadcast partner, Chip Kayfabe, is supposed to be there, so we'll find out about that. And we are going into uncharted wrestling territory. And you and I talked off air that this is important in a lot of ways. In the independent wrestling landscape, this is a big deal. Forget that it's Cody and the Bucks. Forget it's the Elite. Just take 2 seconds, and I'm going to come with a positive spin first, people. I'm not going to come negative first. Think about how important this is to sell out a 10,000 seat arena for an independent wrestling show. That is a big freaking deal. Forget the finances of it all. Just who would have thought in the days of ECW, Bingo Hall, indie shows that were chronicled on True Life MTV, maybe like 7 years ago, to what independent wrestling is now. Give All In at least this much. It is going to bring eyes on a lot of independent wrestlers not named the Elite after this weekend. So that's a good thing. At least I think so, in terms of independent wrestling, since I'm creepy indie wrestling guy that shows up at every show that I've been told that's who I am. You know, what are your thoughts on All In?
While yes, it is good for the circle or something, there's an asterisk next to it.
Okay.
Because this is more so some, like, as much as they like to say that this is for independent wrestling, no, this is more branding for the Young Bucks, the Elite, the Bullet Club, whatever you want to call this faction, right? Because all of the matches revolve around them, basically. Yes. Like, come on now. Also, and this is an issue that people have noted for a long time when it comes to the Bullet Club or the Elite now, is the lack of diversity. Like, let's be real about it. And like, at first, folks are like, oh, well, what about Brandy Rhodes? Come on now. Let's like that's there's a whole lot of avenues we can go down with there. But like, that's one of their wives. Had she not been, you know, Cody's wife, she wouldn't have been there. Let's just be real.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. You know, of all of the people, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's only a handful of people of color, right? You've got Okada,
yes,
Rey Mysterio, Phoenix, Kota Ibushi, Pentagon, Jay Lethal, and then you've got Rocky Romero and Moose. And I guess you could say Punishment Martinez as well. Yeah. But it's like, when you look at the amount that's there, it's like, that's still most of the people that are involved, especially the ones from New Japan, are people that are directly connected to them, right? This is just them doing reach arounds to their friends, is what this is. Like, they didn't actually go out and as much as folks like to shit on the WWE about when they go out and do like the Cruiserweight Classic or the Mae Young Classic, how they say, oh, well, but they actually went out and made sure that they got a diverse amount of people, right?
Right.
Like, sure, they got Jordan Grace recently and like a few other women, which they didn't. There were no women on this.
No, there were not originally. Nope.
Originally, there were no women, and there would not. And I stand by. There would not have been women on this had the internet not said, "Yo, what the fuck is going on here?"
Right.
Right. So, like, as much as, you know, folks are just ballyhooing about it and being like, "Oh, this is the best," there's still so many problems. And like, it'd be one thing if this was like independent super shows didn't happen all the time, but independent super shows happen all the fucking time. Like, let's be real. Like, you can go and see most of these people that are on these cards at a bunch of different shows. It's just that this is attached to the Bullet Club members. That's the only reason why it's a big thing. Because had, you know, what was it, the one that had a whole bunch of issues last year? Wrestling Circus or whatever it was. Like, they were having super shows like you had all these others, but just because it's attached to that is the only reason why people really, why it's such a big thing, is because it's attached to the Bullet Club.
Yeah, I think that's the main drawing point. If we're being completely honest here,
Sure.
As much as I love New Japan and I appreciate Okada, Ibushi, you know, and even just bringing in Pentagon, you know, for me is a big deal, just because I love Pentagon's work. But look at the poster.
Right.
It's Cody, the Bucks, and Stephen Amell.
Right.
And Stephen Amell's there to bring in like mainstream, the Arrowverse, you know, the DC verse eyes, because he worked with WWE previously with Cody, and they have a pre-existing relationship.
And there's issues with him coming on board as well. So you already have these diversity issues. Stephen Amell has had so many issues over the past year about interacting with people of color and other like ethnic groups and such, like wife going to like Muslim like famous Muslim places and like making jokes about it and stuff like that, and then him going into the comment section and like attacking people about this shit. It's like this is, it all looks bad. Birds of the same feather flock together. And this is all looking real bad when everything gets put together like that.
Right. And that's just us talking about just Amell, who's not even a wrestler.
Right.
There's so many underlying things that, and I'm trying to focus on the good. Like I said, this is good for wrestling as a whole.
As a whole, yes.
Yes, I think this is great. I think this is something that is a story to tell. You know, like I was there when, you know, that's some things that wrestling fans are saying, that they can bust out I remember when I went X.
Right.
That's cool. But let's be honest here. All In was going to make money because, as you said, it's tied to the Bucks. It's tied to the Bullet Club. And as we talked off air, Bullet Club is essentially NWO, what, 1.1?
Yeah. Like
now,
it is at this point, it's like they are in what we back in the day, this would have been end stages of NWO, because everybody was part of the NWO. They've got fucking back when the NWO had like Karl Malone and shit like that in it. Like you have, when you're going outside of pro wrestling, Dennis Rodman, like when you're going outside of pro wrestling to get people to bring eyes in, it's just like, you know, it made sense when Amell was in the WWE. Like that was, now it's just like, is it really necessary? Like does it doesn't make any sense now, because they were doing cross promotion back then. There's no cross promotion now. It's just like, oh yeah, let me go ahead. I want my friends here. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's I don't know if it was you that called it a circle jerk, but yeah,
this is just them giving their friends reach rounds.
I mean, are you going to watch the pay-per-view at least?
No.
Dio, this is why I love working with you, man, because you are so honest. Like, nope, not gonna.
Like it's because it's like I have there's better things to watch. Let's just really be real. But yeah, I do not find when the Bullet Club is in their own universe. It's bullshit. Like it's just like it's all these inside jokes. And, you know, everybody's like, oh, this is great wrestling. Nah, it's, you know, it's really not. It's a lot of sophomoric nonsense for bros. It's just not for me.
Is the Bullet Club for bros?
It's for certain kinds of bros, yes. But it's not, it is for a very specific demographic of people, you know. And like most of the people that are not in the top three, it's just hindering their careers at this point, because all they are just they're the auxiliary members of the Bullet Club.
Right. They're Bullet Club B team, I guess. And
exactly.
We talked about the Guerrillas of Destiny were two of our favorites. You know, like
absolutely.
Like I rocks with them. Like when I was in Florida a couple of months ago to watch that gaming New Japan promotional thing.
Right.
God got the biggest pop from the live crowd just because Tama Tonga. For 5 minutes, let me just reference Tama Tonga.
Tama Tonga is that guy.
He's that dude.
Yeah.
Okay. He is the dude you invite to the cookout, because that boy's running the cookout, first off. Secondarily, he's a good wrestler.
Yep.
And he's so gosh darn entertaining. And I don't want to cuss because it's still like early in the day, but he's so damn entertaining just by being who he is, being himself. He can be a heel, he could be a face. He's very multifaceted. He's smooth in the ring.
Right.
And that is a guy who, you know, if we want to cross promote him and Roman, because I know they had the little Twitter beef recently.
Yeah.
And let's be real, they all run in the same damn circle, so it's probably all for good fun.
Yeah,
but
it's like y'all are family basically. So
like it's just brothers like kind of, you know, poking each other on social media. It's not that big of a deal. But I rocks with Tama Tonga, and this whole splitting off of the Bullet Club, as you and I talked off air, it's very reminiscent of the gang wars of WWE back in the 90s when you had Los Boricuas,
right?
You know, DOA and the Nation of Domination.
And I was like, huh, what is the reoccurring theme here? What is the reoccurring theme that we keep on happening? It's always the
West Side Story.
That's what the brown and black guys that get singled off into these little groups. Huh. It's amazing how that happens. Interessante that, the split in the Bullet Club happened to be the white guys and the brown guys.
Mm-hmm.
That is now, ain't that a fucking coincidence? Ain't that a coinky dink?
Isn't it though? Isn't it a coincidence, Dio, that we have come to the realization that the split off has a little bit of racial undertones attached to it? Dare we say?
Right. And if you look at and I know people are part of the fandom, and when you're in a fandom, you tend to not see the issues in the fandom. Not. So a lot of the issues that have been part of Bullet Club fandom for years are starting to now it's starting to come to the forefront, because if you bring it up, they jump on you.
Mm-hmm.
And if when they jump on you, for some reason or other, they always end up using racial epithets. It's just like, did I bring that out of you, or was that just you were just waiting for it? Just waiting.
It was always there.
You had that in the chamber already. So
you had your gun cocked and loaded. You were just waiting to fire.
Oh yeah, you had the Roman Reigns.
God. Can we talk 2 seconds about that? Like
it's like
that's got to be the backstage joke on purpose. Like
it has to be.
They made him do that just because they want to be sophomoric and say, look, it looks like he's jerking off when he does that.
Absolutely.
And even Roman, for all the shit he takes from the general wrestling populace, just for him to do that knowingly, he must think to himself, every night I'm cocking my fist like I'm jerking myself off.
Absolutely. Like there is no way, especially knowing, like, seeing the sense of humor that he has when he's around the Usos and things like that. There is no way that he does not know that shit is hilarious. But yeah, like at this point, it's, he is, I understand why they do it. They're going very much for the superhero comic book, video game aesthetic with him.
Of course.
And it's like, I get it, but that shit's still funny looking. So
but again, I'm going all in, and I'm going because I wanted to see what the hoopla was about. Originally, and we talked about this, I wasn't going to go to the show. I was actually going to watch it at a bar or something, but I happened to get tickets last week for face value, so I was very happy about that. I didn't have to go through StubHub and pay like $180 for nosebleed seats, because that's ridiculous. But I just wanted to see what the hoopla was about. And there is some interesting things on the card. Let's take what we're talking about out of it and just look from a pure wrestling standpoint really fast. The fact that Omega is wrestling Pentagon
is good.
I'm like, yep, I would take that and I would watch it 3 times over.
Right.
Because those are 2 really good workers.
And Pentagon's excellent. When Pentagon is not resting up between really tough matches, Pentagon is amazing. Like there is, because I've seen Pentagon live probably 4 or 5 times now, and I can tell when he's nursing an injury or something like that, or he's been going through some shit. So it's like, all right, he's just had a lot tough workload, so he's kind of taken off on this one. That's why the match was only 10 minutes. But when he's really, really going at it, like he is one of the top 5 in the world, easy. like no questions asked. He speaks very little English, but you can he conveys what he's trying to say so well just through his presence alone when he's speaking in Spanish that you don't even need a translator half the time. You have a good idea exactly what he's saying. And it's very tough for a lot of people to do that. Like there are only a handful of people that can really do that well, and he's one of them.
Well, I can tell you from this past weekend at that Lucha show that I spent like 20 hours at, it's tough, you know, for luchadors to be able to convey in English, you know, to an audience who may not know Spanish. So I've seen Pentagon maybe twice. I know I saw him once at Glory Pro, where he wrestled He Who Should Not Be Named. And I was, that guy. And I was thoroughly impressed. But I also saw, on the other hand, when I watched him, I think it was a pay-per-view I was watching. It's defined now, but what culture was before wrestling. He wrestled, I think was it Rey Mysterio? No, it wasn't Rey Mysterio. It was somebody, but it was Ricochet. And it looked like he was mailing it in a little bit. And you could tell he was banged up because he was moving like 3 steps slow. Right. You know, and with Ricochet, you know, you got to move like 10,000 miles a minute.
Right. To keep up.
Yeah. So I've seen it on both sides. So if he's well rested going into All In, I think him and Kenny probably are going to be match of the night. Because as much as I love Okada, I don't see the match of the night being him and Marty Scurll. I don't. Because you and I have talked about Marty. I'm not.
It's not that great. Like I get why people like him, and a lot of it has to do with aesthetics, but just doesn't really do anything for me. All right, shit is shit.
Because I watch Marty Scurll, I watch Pete Dunne. They do similar spots,
right?
But Pete Dunne is a way better wrestler, than Marty Scurll could ever be,
ever
be. So if it was Pete Dunne versus Okada, I'd be jumping up for joy because that again could headline any indie show or a New Japan show or even a WWE show or NXT, I should say. That would be cool. But Marty versus Okada, okay, meh.
Right.
You know, and then the rest of the card is kind of Janela versus Paige. And we talked about Hangman needing to change his name if he came over to the States more often.
Oh, yeah. No, like if Hangman, you can do that in Japan because in Japan, the history behind a lot of things is lost because they don't know, are not exposed to it. That's, you know, but over here, if he comes to, and the thing is, he is going to come to the WWE at some point.
Yes.
He is probably one of the best people in the Bullet Club. I would put him in the top. So I know folks love Omega, but I'm sorry, Tama Tonga is better than him in my opinion. Like, just
hot take.
Hot take. Hot take. Like when it comes to everything, because Tama Tonga can be all the things. He is on all arounder. He just doesn't get the same. Had he had the same exact push as Omega, he'd be right up there. You know. But he is, you know, sadly, you know, that group of the Bullet Club just never really got any shine.
Right.
So Omega's great. I'll put Omega in like the top 3. But Hangman Page is right up there in that top 3 for me of all the folks there. And I know folks like love the Bucks and all that stuff, but
it's the Bucks. You know what you're getting with the Bucks. It's not, There's no secret. There's no like mystery.
Right.
Super kick and Meltzer drivers and crazy bumps. And I actually talked about this with someone, I don't know who off the top of my head, but when they wrestle in Japan, they wrestle with more ring psychology.
Right.
When they wrestle Ring of Honor, it's pop, pop, pop.
Right. When they go to PWG, pop, 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 pop. And the way they do that because of the fandom, like, you know, in Japan, they appreciate ring psychology more. You know, when you go to see the Bucks in the United States, you go to see the Bucks for a very specific reason. Right. So, you know, and they are merch machines. Like that is one of my biggest issues outside of the other issues with the Bullet Club is that they are more about selling merch than they are about actually becoming better at wrestling and such, right? Like I understand folks are like, they're trying to prove they're going up against the man. They are not going up against the man. No. Like that is the narrative that people need to let the fuck go, because they are using the exact same tactics as the man. Like when you sign a deal with Hot Topic, one of the largest chains in the United States, and then when people are putting Young Bucks, like, and folks always talk about how, like, you know, the McMahons and shit like that send cease and desist letters.
Yeah.
You think the Young Bucks wouldn't, the Elites and the Bullet Club wouldn't send cease and desist letters if people were making considerable amounts of money off of their property?
Of course,
get the fuck out of here! Like it is, it's just not realistic, right? At this point, they are the man because they are using the exact same tactics. They are making crazy amounts of money at this point off of merch and such. And like they're doing basically the exact same thing that the WWE is, just on a smaller scale. So it's like there's no, you can't, if you are emulating the man, you cannot say that you are fighting the man. It's just not. That's
the thing. I don't even think the Bullet Club or the Bucks or the Elite, I don't think they've gone on record and said they're fighting the man.
No, that's just the fan base.
Okay, that's all the fan base. Yeah,
that's all what the fan base. That was one of the things that the fan base has been saying. Anytime you bring up. They're like, oh, they're just the upstarts against. They're not upstarts. Like they make bank. They've been making bank for close to a decade now. You think they didn't make a ton of money off all those goddamn Bullet Club shirts that you guys have seen over the past decade? Come on now. Like this is just be really real.
Yeah. It's business. They're good at business. They are great at business. So you know what? I don't fault them for that. I don't fault them for making their money and doing what they got to do outside of WWE, which goes to show you don't have to be a WWE wrestler to make bank.
Right.
Okay. And I think overall that might be another all-in, I want to say positive, is that it shows that independent wrestling, you can actually thrive in independent wrestling. Look at Impact.
Right.
Even though their taping schedule is hell. Like it is worse than NXT's taping schedule, just about. But they're still able to work their indie dates. They get mainstream attention because I've seen ESPN pick up stories on Impact already. So that's getting circulation.
Right.
Bleacher Report talks about Impact also, even though it's on a smaller scale. So you don't have to go to WWE to make a lot of money.
Right.
You know, and the Bucks and Cody and All In, like you would think Omega would have been more involved with this on the surface.
Right.
But this has been advertised strictly as a Bucks and Cody Avenue venue. You know, like this is their endeavor. And Omega's probably one of the top 2 wrestlers in the world.
Right.
And he's just a footnote almost at this show. Okada's a footnote at this show.
Right.
It's the marketing machine.
Exactly. That's the thing is like you said, when you have 2 of the best in the world in Okada, and Okada's like way down on the fucking match list, like way down.
He's wrestling Marty Scurll. That just tells you enough right there.
Right.
So I can't wait to see what unfolds. And in fact, I can't wait to do a show with you after All In's over. This way I could give you my raw, unfiltered, like, this is what I really thought about All In and my experience, because I'm looking forward to that. Just like experiences like last Sunday when I was at that Lucha show, that Martinez Incorporated Lucha show here in Fort Worth.
Right.
My goodness, I was texting you from that show. 6 hours, Dio.
Yep.
6 hours. And for those just tuning in, you've been listening to the Podcast Champs, myself, Damian G, DEO. Find us on various podcast streaming services and on Twitter, Damian G347. I'm just DEO. 6 hours, man.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Usually ours starts about 4. We usually get up about close to 10. So
yeah, it started at like 6 with a pre-show that had what looked to be 2 15-year-olds wrestling in the pre-show. We'll get into that later, by the way, on a different topic. But it was match, raffle, fundraising, match, long promo.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. The long promos I saw after every match.
Yeah.
I went with the lady and I told her, I was like, are these promos like this all the time? And she goes, yeah, it's like match, long promo, match, long promo. So my goodness, man. And then everything's in Spanish. Yeah. So, me being the bridge to all of my non-Latino friends and my Latino friends, I had to translate as best I could. Right. Because Mexican Spanish is a lot different than Puerto Rican
Spanish, which is different from Dominican Spanish.
Which is, So I had to do that. And I know you'd appreciate this. There was a match with Thunder Rosa involved. And she's Mexicana pride. Yeah. In her stuff. She was getting booed.
Where was it? So this was in Tejas?
This was in Tejas in Fort Worth. And she came out with the Mexican flag. And there were spots where she was being booed because she was jaw-jacking with this really feisty woman in the front row.
Okay, yeah. If it's like a local celebrity or like someone that is important in the community, yeah.
There was this woman. Loose translations was when Thunder Rosa was wrestling, something about show the woman you're wrestling what you do to men on a daily basis and probably what you did to her husband last night or something along those lines.
Oh yeah.
You know? And I'm like, wait, what?
Shows that are like actually run by, Hispanic people, they are not for the faint of heart. If you are easily triggered and understand Spanish, get the fuck out because it is not going to go well for you at all.
The amount of times I heard cabron mentioned in a promo by an audience member or by that rowdy woman and the dude with the megaphone. There was a dude with the megaphone sitting right next to her. And there's always one or two people with a megaphone at an indie show. Yep. But this one, it was the version of having a megaphone.
Yep.
Like blaring it. And then in between matches, they did that Rocky IV soundtrack where Rocky's training in the mountains and Drago's racing, on the track. Kind of thing. So like to get you hyped up for the fight or for the matches, like they played Rocky IV soundtrack. And I'm thinking, what did I walk into? Like on Twitter, I posted that, and Facebook, I posted that. What am I watching? So I had to text you and I'm like, dude, is this normal?
Yep.
And you told me straight up, dude, that is normal.
It is not like, So my experiences at Lucha shows, right? So one, trigger warning, because I'm just gonna say the words as opposed to trying to allude to what they are.
Yes.
I'll say them in Spanish, of course. So you are going to hear cabron a lot. You're going to hear maricón a lot. You're going to hear pinche gringo if it's an American. You are going to hear puta all the time. You're going to get the chant was puta. Like you are going to get all of these things at Lucha shows. It just is what it is. It's part of the culture. Shit is shit. So at the show that I tend to go to with mine is usually so it'll start off with the past few times they will have someone come out and sing the Mexican national anthem. So there's that. Then there is like a clown that comes out to like do stuff with the kids. Then there'll be a raffle.
Yes, there was a raffle.
Then you will get, then they'll have a match. And it'll be all right, cool. This is usually the up and coming people. Usually those are the best matches actually of the nights because people are really trying to, either it's going to be the up and comers or it's going to be the match that is very much story driven in just that match. Right?
Yes.
Like the last time it was the abusive boyfriend with his girlfriend as the valet. And then she turns on him in the match and leaves with the guy that was that he was her boyfriend's opponent. So you have that. Then there'll be a couple matches, raffle. Then there'll be another match, either another raffle or you'll just have a local business come out and talk about they're a sponsor of the show, and they'll give stuff out. They'll usually have some young Latino woman or women out there throwing t-shirts into the crowd. Another match, another raffle, then we'll have an intermission. And the dope thing I like about them, they actually will hand out food to people. So like they'll actually go, of course, it's like rudimentary quesadillas, but like they'll bring quesadillas. Sometimes they'll actually give tacos out to the crowd and stuff. Like they really take care of everybody. But yeah, it's long time. And there's always a performer will almost get into a fight or flat out get into a fight with a audience member. So like,
which is what happened on Sunday. Yeah.
Let me guess. Was it fucking Mecha Wolf? I can almost guarantee it wasn't.
It was not Mecha Wolf. He did wrestle on the card, but it was not. He threw his opponent into the crowd.
Okay.
And beat the crowd, which I did not know he was Puerto Rican until this weekend, by the way.
Yes. Him, Garza Jr., they come here, and so it's fucked up, but it's hilarious when it happens. So last time there was like a really bad outage. The electricity went out at Hartsville and Jackson. So they were supposed to have like Damian 666, Psychosis, and a couple of the others. They were supposed to, the Tijuana Death Squad or whatever the fuck it is, they were supposed to show up, and they were supposed to go against Garza Jr., 450 or Mecha Wolf, and Roosh. I believe it was Roosh. Yeah. So that didn't happen because the fucking they couldn't get there. So they came out, and when 450 comes out, he will always come out and talk about basically how Mexicans smell bad.
He did cut that kind of promo. Yes, he did.
And so here he came out and he was actually spraying like potpourri spray onto the crowd. He was like throwing like tortillas at the crowd one time.
God.
This time when him and Garza, because Garza Jr. is from, I believe he's Puerto Rican as well. So let's see. No, he's from Mexico.
Okay.
But so they talk about how they came out with their green card. So Garza Jr. came out with his green card. And 450 is a U.S. citizen because he's from Puerto Rico. And he came out with his citizenship. Bruh, the fucking crowd, I thought that they were going to kill them. It was that crazy and they just did this just to like prolong things because they were trying to get the Tijuana Hit Squad to come to get there. And like at the end of it, they didn't even have a match because we were there until like close to after 10 almost. And like basically they came in and they just had a roasting competition between them and Garza and them for like 45 minutes. No wrestling. It was fucking hilarious and amazing. But like, yeah, that is par for the course for a lucha show.
And I can tell you the in-ring portion wasn't that good. Sammy Guevara was in the main event.
Sammy Guevara is trash.
He's also great at self-promotion.
Right. He is really good at the social medias. He is not good. Like all that stuff when between him and Ricochet on Twitter, that shit's real. Ricochet does not like him because he uses all of Ricochet's moves and does very bad versions of them.
And we've talked about that. He's tried to do the 630 and it never comes out right.
Never. Like he does a 630 and lands all of his weight directly on people's stomachs and chests. That is never good. Like I would whoop your ass after the event if you did that shit. Like,
and his promos aren't that great. He's young. I'll give him. I'm willing to give him time to develop as a talent. But if I was making just a snap judgment, and this goes back to what you and I talk about fandom, and sometimes you don't have the clearest visuals of a performer or an athlete. Did nothing for me. Did nothing for me.
Every time I've seen him in person, it's just been like this. Like it's like that. Like in Black Panther, is this your king?
Yes.
Is this your king?
Yes. Or I'll do the Will Smith like this.
Right.
Like, that's your guy. That's the guy you pop for. But wrestling is subjective. Let's be honest here. So I wasn't impressed honestly with Thunder Rosa.
Nah.
Did nothing for me. There was one. I don't want to say he was a very nondescript talent, but there was one talent who was I don't know. I think the Capoeira Kid was his name. Of course, he's white, but he's the Capoeira Kid. And he had some Eddie Gordo type Tekken moveset that I popped for because I like fighting games, and he was wrestling like a fighting game character. So I thought he was good. A couple of other people just not so much. It wasn't great. And then the length of time is just, dude, I can't do a freaking 6-hour show, man.
Nah,
freaking show starts at 6. We didn't wind up leaving until like 10 something, almost 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm good, bro. Ever since 450 became Mecha Wolf, obviously he's not much of a high flyer anymore.
Right.
He's entertaining as a heel because he talks so much trash. Like, that's how, like, when I found out he was Puerto Rican, I'm like, okay, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
He talks so much natural garbage to people, to the crowd, to his opponent. It fits his persona, as a wrestler. Was the in-ring stuff great? No. But was the showmanship good? Definitely will give him that.
Like, he wrestles a very WWE style now.
Yes, a very ground-based, stiff, a Jinder Mahal style.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very Killer Kowalski trained style, as opposed to being this high flyer that he used to be. And, I don't know if his knee's back to 100% or not. But
it's since, from what I've seen, because I saw him before and after the knee injury happened, and he's put on muscle is another thing too.
Yeah.
So he's like actively becoming more of a power-based wrestler. So a lot of the high-flying stuff just is not going to be in his repertoire anymore. So
right. But I guess what I'm trying to sum up here with this Lucha show is just that the in-ring portion did not match anything that predicated it being 6 hours.
Right.
Too much. And I've been to Wrestle Circus where those shows run a little long.
Right.
Or I've been to other indie promotions that run 4 hours with intermission. And just sometimes it's not worth it, man. So I was sweating, and then the AC wasn't working. So they had like the jumbo fans,
right?
Those big old fans, the Vornados. And then I realized that there was some ass monkeys that were blocking the fans on purpose. So to take all the cool air.
Yeah.
Bro, I made the mistake of wearing jeans to this fucking thing.
Shorts.
Never again.
Every single time I go to that, it's shorts, even if it's in the fucking winter. Like, I am going to, I'm going to wear something that is at least breathable if I'm going to be there. Because that's a long time to be cooped up in there with a lot of fucking people.
Right. And it was a good show. It was a good number of fans there. It wasn't like middling numbers. It was pretty well packed. But that was my my first foray into a lucha show. So for those of you who know me, know that I had never gone to one, and it was quite the experience. I probably would go again, but I would be better prepared. Like, I would bring shorts. I would pack water bottles. It's sort of like going to Comic-Con, like going to one of these like conventions. You need to have water bottles and snacks, and it's like a camp out. You got to be prepared.
And the merch is expensive too. Like, if you're trying to buy like a mask or something like that, that shit is expensive.
And that was
they'll
actually
sell worn masks and stuff like that, or like pro level masks there too. Them bastards is fucking expensive.
And that was one of the things they were auctioning off. It was Hijo de Fantasma, an autographed mask. I don't remember what the winning thing was, and of course, a child won it, thankfully. So that because when I see a grown man like win a lucha mask and they look really excited, and then they put it on, I'm like, I don't know about that. But that's my own, that's my own druthers with that. But one of the most entertaining matches was when those 15-year-olds in the pre-show were kind of going at it because it was comically bad.
Yeah.
And that brings up another question. And for those just joining us, you again are listening to the podcast champs, myself, Damian G with DEO. 15-year-olds in the ring in Tijuana are a normalized thing.
Right.
Ray was doing it. Eddie was doing it. Psychoses. Pick a luchador.
Right.
They've been doing it since they were like 12.
Right.
On the flip side, here in America, there seems to be an uproar over a 11-year-old girl?
12-year-old, I think she is.
She's 12, taking a bump at getting a choke slam. Right. First off, at Punk Pro Wrestling this past weekend in Florida, which I have been to. I think it's Punk Pro. I have been to, and the person in question is a WWE super fan, Izzy. And for those who don't know who she is, go back and watch NXT Brooklyn. Any Bayley match when she was in NXT, she was Bayley's #1 fan. She has become a super fan, and by all accounts, wanting to train to be a professional wrestler.
Right.
So she wrestled her first match this past weekend against Effie. Now, I don't know if you yourself has seen Effie, but he is very histrionic in his mannerisms. He's like Goldust without the face paint. Very LGBT in his moveset.
Gotcha.
Very provocative. Talks a lot of trash. Also very good at the social medias, as you and I like to say. And they have a pre-existing relationship.
Right.
So it wasn't as if she was working with some rando that she didn't know. But the big hullabaloo is that she took a choke slam.
Right.
On one hand, you and I have talked about this as a youth psychologist, me talking about the brain and fully formed, like brain stem, essentially. And you saying about the neck and the body. Yeah. Anyone under the age of even 18, just your body isn't physically fully formed to take a beating.
Right.
Which is why in the NFL, you're not allowed to be eligible for the draft until you're 20.
Right.
Because that's not an NCAA assholes thing. That's a physical toll thing.
Right.
So an 11 or 12-year-old girl taking a choke slam, no matter how, I saw the clip.
Right.
It looked rough.
Yeah.
It looked rough. And I guess it got the internet talking, and Wrestle Twitter, being Wrestle Twitter what it is, had a shitstorm with it.
Yep.
There were table flips and pitchforks and fire and brimstone and all those other things, and boycott this and boycott that. And I'm not watching another indie show. If the girl was okay with it, her parents were okay with it, the promotion's okay with it, the wrestler involved is okay with it, that's fine for them.
Right.
I got no qualms about that. I care about safety.
Right.
That's all I care about.
Where it all comes down to is the safety aspect of it. And it's just not there. It's just not.
Wrestling is not, what did Jim Ross like to say? Wrestling ain't ballet.
Right.
I've seen pretty gruesome. I've seen people get hurt at events and they stop the show because somebody blew out an ACL,
right,
or tore a bicep or something. It ain't for the weak at heart.
Right.
So do I personally think a 12-year-old girl or anyone under the age of 18 is able to handle the rigors of, for all intents and purposes, a constant car crash to your body? No. Whether or not they want to chase the dream, that's a different topic. I'm not addressing that. I'm not saying, well, they don't belong in the ring. They want to chase it. Cool. Are they physically built for it?
No.
Children? No. And you mentioned this on Twitter recently about the match Omega had with the 9-year-old girl. I don't know her name off the top of my head, but somebody asked you, I think it was Darnell, asked you if you felt the same way about that match. And you even said, yep.
Yeah, because it's like, so this is my whole take on it, right? With all of this stuff, right? And I was one of those people that used to be like, oh man, this is such a great match between Omega and, the 9-year-old, right? Mm-hmm. And with that match, two different types of things. Yes. Kid didn't really take any bumps.
Exactly.
Right? Kid really did not take any bumps whatsoever, right? So you can't use that because it's not the same thing, you know? Like, and Kenny Omega is one of the best performers in the world.
Yes.
Has been for a very long time, right? So, but even that now, like when I go back and watch it now, I still have that visceral reaction to it. I was like, this isn't cool. Because so in my day job, I record video testimony for lawsuits. Mm-hmm. So I am always on seeing what the bad that happens or when things go wrong. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to kids, concussions, breaks to like growth plates in your bones.
Yes.
That will set you back a very long way, right? And like I'm of the mind, like there are certain things that I will not let if I ever have kids, they will not be allowed to do until they get to be about 16 years old. Then they get, once they are kind of sort of in the final stages of where they're going to be, sure, then I'll let you do that. One of them is obviously pro wrestling. 2, cheerleading. 3, full contact football.
Yes.
Not going to happen because all of them are high injury rate things. And the thing about with pro wrestling is it's not even a competition sport, right?
Right.
It's not a sport, period. It's performance art.
Yes.
Right? If it's a sport, that's one thing. There is an end goal. With cheerleading, not so much because you really can't make a living after the fact with it. But like with basketball, football, any of the stick and ball sports, you can move on to something else in life. That can actually become a career for you. Right. With pro wrestling, you are going to be going into bingo halls and your local YMCAs and such to make chump change for a very long time before you make any type of money. Right. Now, with a kid, right? Like this is just not and this was one of the things that people were saying. Oh, well, what about kids that train, mixed martial arts and boxing and stuff? I was like, different story, very different story.
How so?
One, it's a sport that you are moving into. And like, so if I have a daughter, especially, she is going to have to take up a martial art to learn how to defend herself. Just because the world is trash. Same thing if I have a son, but especially if I have a daughter, she's going to learn some sort of a grappling art because when somebody attacks you, best thing to do is have them right next to you and be able to choke them out. So there's that. And like when folks are like, well, what's the difference between that and Izzy training? Well, one, that's actually a life skill. Pro wrestling is not a life skill. Cutting promos is not a life skill. Learning how to take a bump is not a life skill. Learning how to do a swanton bomb or do a power bomb is not a life skill. It's just not. It isn't. Like if you are going to do, sure, if this wants to be your thing. And the other thing as well. So Izzy wants to be a pro wrestler, right? Yes. How many of us actually knew exactly what they wanted to be at 12?
Shoot, I wanted to be a baseball player at 12. So.
I wanted to be a marine biologist at 12. Her personality has not finished developing. Her brain is nowhere near finished developing. Like your brain doesn't really you don't really become who you are until you're like 25, 26.
Right.
Like this is a kid. If the kid wants to be a super fan, I am A-okay with it. But the rigors on the body, right? Taking bumps, this is that and the other, like concussions. And that's the thing. It used to be like the concussion scale was like 3, grade 1, 2, and 3. When in reality, like everything is a concussion. Right. If you strike your head on something, it's a concussion and that shit adds up. There's no bar to say how many you have. But once you get to the point where you've had too many, there is no going back. The brain does not repair itself. It will reroute to help you cope with that dead portion of your brain, but it does not heal. And when a brain is still being formed, there is no reason that you should be getting concussions to whereas parts of your brain will no longer work for the rest of your life.
You're right.
This is it doesn't matter how safe it looks like it is. It's just bad. And then, this is one, because Izzy's not even old enough to receive a paycheck this month. Right? So her dad and mother are the ones that are putting her out here, are putting her into danger, essentially.
Yes.
And I don't care what you guys say, she's being put into danger because this is a dangerous, just like parents that put their kids out there to play football, they are putting their children in harm's way because these are naturally just sports that are physical and people are going to get hurt. So they're making money off of this.
Yes.
Because Izzy ain't showing up for free.
Oh yeah, no, she's not showing up. She's sponsored.
She's sponsored. She is going to be like there is booking information out there for her. So already pretty much illegal for her to be doing to be receiving any type of a paycheck, right? And like with all of that being said, her parents didn't do their due diligence in any way, shape, or form with who they initially had her training with. They were at a school with a guy that is a registered sex offender. Registered, not maybe this happened, right? Not there's allegations. No, a registered sex offender. Easily searchable.
Yes.
At that. And that's who they had. They had her training at his school. Like a guy who went on Twitter recently and admitted that he had sex with an underage person.
I didn't know that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's the thing. People are coming to his defense saying it was a dummy account. I don't believe it. Basically, he was like, yeah, well, I had it. It was a long weekend, and I had sex with 3 women, and one of them just happened to be underage, but she looked older than the 21-year-olds that I had sex with.
Oh,
it's a bad look, my guy. It's a bad look.
That's that's a lot of bad looks right there.
Right. So like already, like that's bad. If your kids and your parents are already putting you in harm's way in multiple ways. Like this is bad, especially when you know wrestling has a high injury rate. Yes. Wrestling also has a long history, especially recently with like the Me Too movement of what goes on behind closed doors. I would not put it past one of these gross bastards, because we've seen in the past few years we've had the allegations of rape. We've had the allegations of sexual harassment. We've had wrestlers that were arrested for child pornography. Like, come on now. Like, when you see shit like this constantly pop up, like, and wrestling's a very small community too. Like, this isn't like this is a massive community where there's a ton of people. Like, pro wrestlers themselves, that is a very small community. So when you see stuff pop up that often and you hear those stories all the time, I'm looking at you sideways.
Oh yeah, no, and we have covered wrestling for a while now. You and I have been fans, and we've covered it for a long time. And some of the underbelly, and I've mentioned this before, the underbelly is the stuff that makes me really uncomfortable, because one is pro wrestling, but then we realize with any athletic endeavor, sports, broadcasting, anything of the sort, right, there is going to be that sector of dark. It's like dark Twitter. You know, you're going to have that corner. And I found out about this guy when I went to that New Japan cross-promotional Kenny Omega sponsored event, or Kenny Omega ran event, where he was on the pre-show.
Right.
And apparently that was a shitstorm toward Kenny Omega, because how could you work with a known sex offender?
Right.
You know,
and it was a known fact too. That was the other thing. It was a known fact amongst people.
Right. It wasn't secretive that he was a sex offender. You could just Google, like you said. I don't know. Personally, does Izzy deserve to chase her dreams? Everyone deserves to chase their dreams.
Absolutely.
As long as it's their dream.
Right.
Not the parents' dreams, not the fans' dream. You know what I'm saying?
And as long as it's done safely.
Yes. I mean, I work with kids, this for years. I've worked with children. And I always say the number one thing is, when a child wants to do something because they want to do it and they love it,
right,
nurture that, nourish that.
Right.
But if it's one of those like little league parents where, oh yeah, I'm reliving my glory days through you, so please do this for mom and dad because it'll make us some money down the road. What was the movie? Do you remember what was that James Van Der Beek football movie with John Boyd?
Friday Night
Varsity Blues.
Varsity Blues, yeah.
Right. So his character was the backup quarterback, and the late Paul Walker's character, gets hurt in the movie. So James Van Der Beek was the backup, and he came in and started winning some games. But the dad was all like, you're going to play, you know, in the Ivy League, going to start for football. And there's a line in the movie, and it's so corny because Vanderbeek's accent was just laughable the whole movie.
So bad. So bad.
He's like, that may have been your life, but I don't want your life. Right. You know, sounding like Bobby from King of the Hill.
Yeah.
But that's it. You know, that's the epitome of a little league parent. Now, if Izzy's parents are okay with her training because that's what she wants, I'm good with that. But if you're trying to force her to do, or any child, if you're trying to force a child to do something, play the piano, go into the family business, right. You know, because a lot of that's cultural. Because let's be honest here. How many Asian themed restaurants do you see kids working in the kitchen after school?
Yeah. And I know I have a bunch of friends that had to work in their parents'
you know,
restaurant.
My dad used to own a few luncheonettes back in New York, and I, after school, would have to go and help.
Right.
Did I want to do that? No, of course not. But I did so because my parents told me to, you know. Now we live in a world where the parents can't kind of tell the kids what to do as far as like their extracurricular activities, as long as it's positive.
Right.
That's good and bad, and we can get into that another day. But if she wants to chase this dream, I don't care. If she wants to take a choke slam because she wants to be a wrestler, I don't care. As long as it's safe.
Right. And inherently, it's just not safe. I'm like that.
Your body's not built for that. It's that simple. Your body is not built to handle the physical torture. Plain as day.
Yeah. Like Izzy's less than 100 pounds, right? Is sub 5 feet tall. Like, is probably around like the 4'4", 4'6" range.
Yes.
Like, if even that, like, it's, and the thing about it is, like, so of course wrestlers are coming out in support of her, right? You can't trust people inside of an industry like this because it has always been a insulated thing where everybody will gang together to protect something. Right? Because if you attack one, you attack all, essentially, in most people's eyes. So, of course, they're going to say, yeah, we love it. It's great. But then you ask them, would you let your kid do it? More often than not, it's going to be a no. Right? Like, just like so many football players, you ask them, would you let your kid do it? Many of them say, absolutely not.
Right.
So, you know, and of course, the fan, you have the folks, oh, she's living her dream. And it's like, and what I kept on saying, I just feel it doesn't fucking matter what you feel when facts are involved.
Yes.
Right? Like, you can feel how you want to feel all you want. That's not going to change the fact that it is not safe for a 12-year-old to get lifted several feet into the air and slammed on their back.
Yep. I've taken 3 chops in my day and 3 back bumps.
Right.
Do I want to do that ever again? Hell to the no.
No.
And I'm a 38-year-old man. So imagine a 12-year-old girl. Or like we said before at the beginning of this segment, a 15-year-old boy from Tijuana or any part of Mexico who's training to be a luchador.
Right.
You know, they are putting themselves on the line just like the parents are. Right. Just because it's a different country doesn't mean we don't care.
Yeah. And like cultural differences as well.
Yes.
Too, right. So Mexico, that is actually a respected thing. It is also a career that people will go into, right? Like, that's why they start that early, right? It's almost like saying that, comparing the people that do kickboxing in the United States or MMA to the 8-year-old kids doing Muay Thai in Thailand. They have to do that because that is one of the only ways that they can help support their parents, their family, right? Like, you can't compare something where somebody literally, it's one of the only ways that they can help sustain their family to literally somebody that this is a hobby.
Right.
You know, for one, it's life and death. For one, it's a hobby. Like, just the comparisons, these are not equal. False equivalency.
You know what? That's another great point. You know, when you really look at it that from that standpoint of doing it to feed your family, as opposed to, I don't want to say staying in your 15 minutes, but staying in your 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's what it's been. Had she not been the Bailey fan,
Right.
People would absolutely not be on her side, right? On the side of that right now. Right. Had she not been a known quantity, had she not been a figurehead on pro wrestling Twitter already, had she not been at all of the NXT shows, people they would absolutely be saying that this does not need to happen.
Right.
Just like, because we saw, what was it? What was it about? What was it, a few months ago or sometime last year where like a wrestler spit on a kid or some shit like that? And like they either spit on a kid or like accidentally hit a kid or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like wrestling Twitter buried them alive. So I was like, okay, so that's not okay, but this is just because it's part of your, and like I said it the other day. In wrestling fandom, people will let things slide that they would not let slide in any other industry or any other real world scenario.
Right.
Racism. Oh, it's these old, outdated, they're just stereotypes. It doesn't mean anything. We know Samoans aren't real savages. We know all black people don't steal things like crime time. We know that Mexicans don't just lie, cheat and steal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's xenophobia. Oh, we know that all foreigners aren't monsters. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Really? All of these things. Sexism. Like, blatantly, there was a solid 15, 20 years where women were just treated like objects. But you could not do that outside of pro wrestling. Like, pro wrestling and porn are the only two industries where you can do stuff like this and it's okay. Like,
objectifying women. We're talking about objectifying women, right?
Objectifying women and racism.
Okay, good. All right. I just want to clarify for people who just tuned in. Right. We're still talking about
not kitty stuff, but like like there are certain things where like you would not, any other industry, you would not be okay with this.
No, you're absolutely right. And I don't want to say that's what's wrong with wrestling fandom, but fandom in general.
Yeah.
There are some things that are okay to do, as I put the air quotes up, in those realms. But if you really looked at it outside the prism, you would think, this isn't right.
Right.
I think I was talking to Mimi last night. Shout out to Mimi Shells for an awesome 3-hour non-wrestling podcast that turned out to be a phone conversation. She said about Trish, when she came back Monday, Trish Stratus, coming back Monday to confront Elias and on Monday Night Raw, and how we reminisced about how she was made to strip off her clothes and bark like a dog, years ago by Vince McMahon. But we choose to only remember as wrestling fans her retirement match against Lita, and reminisce about her being probably what people make it seem like she was top 5 women's wrestler of all time.
She's not. Let's really be real about this. She was not.
She was not, and neither was Lita.
There were like 2 matches, especially not Lita. Oh my God, Lita damn near killed herself
multiple times.
Every time she did that moonsault, I was always like, today might be today, because like folks are always, and like of course, especially Stan Twitter, where they'll be like, oh, my queen. I'm like, yo, she was not like you. She was not that great, right? Especially compared to the modern era of wrestler, right? Like you could take Trish Stratus in her prime, and she wouldn't even compare to most of the bottom level women in NXT right now.
Right, like Aaliyah,
who I want her to win so bad. Like I really, really want her to win so bad, but she just cannot find a character.
Well, remember she had one, and Natty kind of stole it from her.
Yeah, Catwoman. Yeah,
the Catwoman thing.
It's like she's got the look. Aaliyah's gorgeous, like on a ridiculous level. She's got the gear that she had on last night that looked like the super gaudy shirts. Awesome. Can't find it. But anyhow, enough about
yeah,
that.
that's neither here nor there. Which one day we'll get into that topic in terms of women's wrestling in general, because that's something that's near and dear to my heart. But when people revel in the past,
right,
or even omit the past, like that didn't happen. Right here, looking at you dead in the face, Trish barking like a dog in her bra and panties. So you can't pick and choose wrestle fandom. You can't pick and choose any fandom that celebrates winning by rioting in the streets, like we talked about off air.
Or even like, so for instance, since it just happened, and whoever it is that you pray to, rest his soul. But John McCain, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it was a love fest for John McCain, like he never did anything wrong. And it's like, wait a minute, whoa, wait a minute. No, you cannot just remember things and people for just the good things. You have to remember people and things for their entirety.
Yes.
You cannot just pick and choose just the good stuff from things. Like Martin Luther King Jr., right? Everybody just remembers the good stuff. He was also a wild womanizer.
Yes.
Just a philanderer at a level that was insane. Like, he has so many illegitimate kids down here. It's crazy. Or just like anybody, period. Like, you cannot just remember people for the good stuff. You can't just remember the things for the good stuff. You can't just remember Trish Stratus for just... People really only remember Trish Stratus for 2 or 3 matches.
Mickey James was in one of them, and so was Lita.
Right. And Mickey James is the GOAT. Yep. As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to women's wrestlers, she has been able to perform at a high level during both eras.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she was out there killing it back then. She came back and she's killing it now. She's even better now than she was back then. Mickey James is the GOAT. I don't care what you say.
I always
like,
put
her
and Gail Kim for me are always going to be like side by side. Spanning eras. We're just talking about eras here.
Yeah, for me, like, I was one of those people calling her Stale Kim for a long time. It was boring to me. But I do understand that she was very good at what she did, though.
Right, but Mickey James, and I even said this on Monday. I said, and pardon me, audience, for saying it like this, like a typical dude. How the hell is she getting younger as she gets older?
I don't know.
Like, I know she's got some Native American in her ancestry.
She's aging backwards.
Seriously, dude. This is like reverse Benjamin Button. What the hell, man?
Yeah. Look, so like my buddies over at Nacho Demo Pod, they talk about her all the time. Like, Aaron especially was like, yo, Mickey James looked hot tonight. And it is something. Like, she comes out looking healthy every week, and it is a great thing. She is like wine mom to the hottest degree possible. But yeah, I don't know how she's able to do it. I'm guessing she probably drinks a lot of water.
Isn't that usually what people say? Oh, it's just water.
It's just water, staying unproblematic, and
having a child.
Yeah, some folks, that's what triggers it too. So I don't know. It's shout out to Mickey James. God.
And before we get out of here, there's one more topic I want to broach here on Podcast Champs. We were talking earlier in the week about the past coming to haunt you.
Yeah.
And people drudging up the past. Yeah. And we were talking about the sex offender, that trains Izzy, talking about Trish in the past, as opposed to now with the rose-colored glasses, and we don't see the past. What is with tweets from, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago being brought out in a not a witch hunt, but maybe a witch hunt sort of fashion, where I am so glad I deleted a lot of my old tweets, even though they're innocuous when I first started on Twitter.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time of this happening was Apollo Crews when he was Uha Nation. And he was just, he was acting a little ratchet on the timeline back in, I don't know, like 2010 or something.
Right.
And that was brought to light. And people were just like, is he going to lose his job for stuff he said in 2010?
Right.
And it's happened a lot in professional sports recently, where athletes have come out of pocket on Twitter years ago And it's like, hey, remember when you made these racially insensitive commentaries, or you were shouting out racial epithets on your timeline because you thought you were down with the crew?
Right.
You thought you could say the N-word even though you're a Caucasian dude from Canada down with like a whole bunch of like Black and Latinos. Like, what? I don't want to say what spawned this, man, but why is it becoming so rampant now?
It's because it's like Twitter is public record. Unless your tweets are protected, they are public record. So people can go back. Like, I've been on Twitter since, let me check, September of 2009. I know for a fact I said foul stuff.
Right.
So that's what, 8 years ago, or no, it's 9 years ago. So I've been on Twitter for almost a decade.
Mm-hmm.
That was when I was 22 was when I first got on Twitter. This is before I became woke. I was always kind of, I understood why stuff was bad, but I was far from woke. You know what I'm saying? And this was back when issues weren't as bad as they were. We didn't know a lot of things, right? And I know I was homophobe. I probably use homophobic slurs. Yes. Probably use transphobic slurs. Yes. Like, I know for a fact I said like really bad things about certain fighters and performers, or like rappers rather. So like, shit is shit. I will, if those ever come to light, I'll be like, I said them. Absolutely. I said it. I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't. But I will also say that I have moved forward. I have, you can look at my timeline. Then you can look at my timeline. Now you can see that I have actually grown as a person. And one of the issues that constantly comes up is that people do not take responsibility for what they said. And that's where a lot of the folks got caught up. Because like, so when with Uha Nation, or with Apollo Crews, so he said stuff, and the stuff that he said was pretty low level.
That's normal stuff that I've heard growing up in New York City, man.
Right. Like he really didn't even say anything that was like really out of pocket. Now, same time period, Aaliyah also, because I think she was going by like Jasmine or something back then.
Yes, back then it was Jasmine. Mm-hmm.
Right. So she had a whole bunch of stuff that she was, some like a black performer was carrying her to the thing. He's like, oh yeah, my slave or something like that. Problematic. Very, very problematic. Jessica Havoc was probably the most prominent of all these, because she was going to report to the PC, and there was a long list of things that she said had tweeted, or at least her account, from what she claims, had tweeted. And it was like a lot of stuff about black people and using the N-word, and like, he had there was a whole bunch of stuff there. And when asked about it, she didn't like, she made excuses. That's where you go wrong. Like, if you did it, fess up to it and say that you've moved forward, and show proof that you've moved forward. And that's one of the reasons why I still, to this day, I cannot support her. I know some of the other folks on wrestling Twitter are like, oh, it wasn't that bad. It's like, nah, certain stuff, if you say it and you do not, if you say it and then you, in your statement, you say that you're sorry that it upset people, as opposed to saying, I'm sorry that I said it. I know what I did was wrong and I won't do it again. That's very different from saying, I'm sorry that you were offended by it. That's basically what she did. And this is what continuously happens with a lot of these situations, right? Is that people will bring it up. And that's the thing. Folks have said, like Joyce Reed, I believe she is, the newscaster.
I'm not familiar.
Basically, she's a prominent, like left-leaning newscaster recently.
Okay.
And somebody dug up her old blog, and she had a lot of transphobic things that she said. And she said, look, she was like, this is over 10 years ago. I don't remember saying this, but I will take responsibility for it because it was on my platform. It is what it is.
Right.
I don't remember doing it, but I'm not going to say that I didn't. I have moved forward. I have changed as a person. So two different things. Like when you have, so like I said, with the Havoc thing, or like you said or like with Kanye recently, right? Kanye had the slavery sounded like a choice thing, plus with the MAGA hats and all that stuff. And yesterday he was on Twitter, there's a clip of him crying about how
Kanye.
he's like, and he said, I'm sorry that I upset people. I'm sorry that I offended people. He didn't say that he was sorry that he said it. He didn't say that he didn't believe those things. So it's like, sorry, bro. I really can't rock with you on this.
Okay. See, and I think you're right. I think when people take ownership of the wrongings that they've done, that goes a long way, not even the public eye, that just goes a long way in showing that as a person, you've evolved. Because that phrase you said about, I'm sorry my actions affected you,
right,
is a lot different, because I've been guilty of this. I've said, I'm sorry you feel some type of way because I did this, as opposed to saying, damn, what I did was effed up. I'll do my best to make sure that never happens again.
Right.
That is a lot different, and it's subtle. You know what I mean? It's wording, it's subtlety. And then there's, on the other hand, there's people who they're just doing it for the lip service. They're not really sorry. Like Kanye ain't sorry, man.
Oh yeah, Kanye's got a shoe coming out right now.
Exactly. He's only sorry when it affects his bottom line.
Right.
And I have found in a lot of especially in wrestle Twitter, where people are drudging up stuff on, I think Ty Dillinger was another one, Cedric Alexander was another one that they drudged stuff up. And
the way that they went about it was the exact way that you need to do it.
Right.
Yes, I said it. I was a different person. I have learned from my mistakes and I have moved forward.
Right.
There you go. Like it, and that's all you really can do at this point, right? Like and I know the whole calling for people to get fired because, like, what was it, James Gunn recently? Yeah. Right. So thing about that was, and so here's the thing for me. If you said something during middle school and high school, right, it's going to be very hard for me to hold that against you if you are a completely different person now, right? Like, I know, you and I know, trigger warning to the folks that are offended by words.
Yes.
Back when we were in elementary, middle, and high school, political correctness was not at the level that it was now.
No, it is not.
Right? So, calling someone gay, calling someone a faggot, or a gayfer, that was just par for the course. That is what we did. Calling people retarded. Like this, it was part of the lexicon that we used. And we did not know any better. Right? Like Doja Cat, the Moo chick that's gotten famous and then got in trouble because she said, I've probably called people homophobic slurs 15,000 times or whatever, and folks are mad about it. And she was like, she was in high school. Like, I'm not gonna get mad about something that people said in high school, right? It's one thing if you said something, like I said, it's one thing if you said something in high school, you've changed as a person. It's different if you said something in high school and you are still that person. Two very different things when it comes to this stuff. And with James Gunn was a grown-ass man when he was tweeting this stuff about, like, pedophilia. Yep. A grown man. Not in his 20s, not in his early 20s, not in his mid-20s, not in his late 20s. He was a 41-year-old man. Big age. Grown-ass man. When he said these things. Like, at that point, there's no real, you can't say, oh, I was being childish. No, my guy. You were old enough. You were literally old enough to be a grandfather at that point.
You knew what you were doing, bro.
You knew what you were doing. Like, that's, So, yeah, it's like, I don't think people should do it maliciously to go dig up everybody's stuff. But if it comes to light, you have to go about handling it properly. And so many people want to be on the defensive, as opposed to, like, everybody wants to be reactionary as opposed to like just handling it the way that they need to, right? Because admitting that you're wrong is somehow like damaging to your character. It's like, no, you losing jobs is going to be damaging to your character and your pocketbook, my guy.
That's it right there. You know, we just talked about Kanye only caring once the pocketbook's involved.
Right.
It's not about morality. It's not about character. I know for me personally, if you drudge stuff up, and I don't know what's on my Twitter timeline past 3 days ago, let alone, 3 months ago.
Oh yeah.
You drudge stuff up on me. If there was something I said that was out of pocket, I will gladly say mea culpa, own up to my ish, and keep it moving, as opposed to like, well, too bad, so sad for you.
Right. Like I saw stuff that I said late last year. I was like, I don't remember saying that shit at all. So like,
and that happens, and we're like, wait, we said that? And then when you're showing the visual proof, you're thinking, wow, I really did say that. Okay, I am sorry for being a jackass. I am sorry for being offensive. I am sorry for anything. And again, it's approaching it in a different mindset, a different way. Do you care about growth, or do you care about the wallet? And in Kanye's case, it's about the wallet. But on the other end of the spectrum, I have a beef with the people who literally go looking for this stuff. Right.
That's an issue. Like if all you do is to set out, and more often than not, this is Stan Twitter. Yes. These are the people that have nothing better to do. These are the folks that all they do is curate pictures of their faves all day long. And if somebody says anything bad about their faves, they want to take them down. Or if they feel, with like James Gunn, it was a bunch of folks that were like, from what I could tell, it was a bunch of folks that were not happy with like their favorite people not getting spotlights in movies. So they wanted to go dig things up. So like you see that happen a lot, and it's like, like sure, he needs to be held accountable, but like also you're kind of trash for doing this, because like you are now messing up a lot of things, right? So like with the James Gunn thing, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is now postponed because of this, because everybody said, all right, well, we just won't come back until you bring back James Gunn. And I was like, y'all are playing a dangerous game, because y'all act like Disney Marvel did not change out what's his face from Iron Man. Yeah, Terrence Howard for Don Cheadle real quick, and acted like nothing happened. So it's like, Batista, I rock with you, and you are woke as hell, but my guy, don't play this game. They will replace you with John Cena with the quickness.
Oh my God.
Think that they won't.
I'm just trying to picture John Cena as Drax. Like, oh my God. Okay. Or maybe they'll just have Vin Diesel like get buffed for the role, play Drax, and do Groot's lines. And like Star-Lord. We don't like Star-Lord anyway because of what he did in the film. Star-Lord is the reason that everybody is messed up right now. So like, you got that. People of color have not forgotten what Zoe Saldana was doing in the years prior with her colorist nonsense. Like, it's like, y'all are playing a dangerous game here, so you might want to shut the fuck up. So, but it's like, you can't. I understand holding people accountable, but like if you are actively doing this, that's a problem, especially when you are doing it to people that have shown growth over time. Because in a lot of people's eyes, it doesn't matter what they've done. If they said one of these things one time, canceled, #canceled, and they can't come back from that, right? You're going to look at those people are going to get labeled as liabilities to projects. And like, that's not cool if that's all that you are doing, right? And just personally, folks, if you're going to go on a crusade against people, make sure you know who you're going after. Right. Make sure you're going after someone, not because and I've been told this, not because they big dogged you at an airport, right? And you just like are like hurt over it, or I was gonna say butthurt over it. No. If they are scourge of the earth, I don't mind it. Right. If they're just the person who said some stupid shit because I said stupid shit when I was 23 years old, 24 years old. Yeah. Especially in drunken stupors.
Like we said when we were talking about Izzy, your brain does not really like finish forming until you're like 25, 26 years old. Like, you know, how you can't to hold things against people from back then to like, you know, if it was like something wildly racist,
right?
Sure. But if like somebody said that they don't like someone, like what the fuck? Like it's don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, so I completely understand that, and just a warning, folks. Just be mindful who you're going after, because you might go after someone who's actually innocent in something, and you just are just taking a tweet or an Instagram post and kind of running with it. And you know what? You're gonna wind up ruining someone's life. And to be honest with you, don't y'all have jobs?
Right, and not
don't
just that,
lives?
Because this is what's going to start happening, and especially because we saw something. This was something that happened the other day in pro wrestling Twitter, actually. So Sasha Banks was on the show that's on Complex with Peter Rosenberg.
Yes,
I believe it was, and was talking about working with Alexa Bliss. And she was like, if you don't have anything good to say, I'm not going to say, don't say anything at all. They took that clip, right? And they doctored it to whereas it said talking about Alexa Bliss or whatever it was. And they said, how Sasha feels about her gay fans.
What?
Right. So this taken completely out of context. It's like, yo, like this one, that is actually slander, right? This is actual slander, bordering on like libel. If you do that and it messes someone's career up, they can get a civil suit against you. Quick. And you will lose. Don't think that they won't. Because if you screw somebody's life up because you wanted clout to get some tweets, some likes and retweets, people will start coming after you. Like if you start doing that, especially for if the WWE is involved, let me explain something to y'all. The WWE is one of the most litigious brands in the world. They have an unlimited amount of money at this point. They have a whole horde of lawyers on retainer. Think that they will not come after you for slandering one of their performers and then makes it look bad on them because all they care about is the bottom line. Shit.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. They're coming at you.
People are going to learn the hard way in the next few years because like stuff like that could absolutely a clip that is taken out of context. Yes. People are going to start coming after folks for doing stuff like that.
Yep. And even in taped conversations where things are doctored, you know,
right.
And again, folks, I say this on Salty Chips. I'll say it here. Don't be a dick. Like, right. Come on, man. So before we get out of here, any wrestling hot takes you want to throw out there before we get on out of here?
I already said Mickey James, the GOATs.
It's not a hot take though.
Not really, but 205 Live is the best show.
That's agreeable. I agree with that.
Best in-ring action in pro wrestling today. That includes New Japan for all of you otakus and Japanophiles.
Otakus.
Let's see. What else do we got here? I really have a lot. Hope Dana Brooke continues getting better in the ring because she looked really good the other day.
Yeah, I saw that handspring combination thing she was trying to do. It was good to see. It was good to see progression and with anything in life. Go ahead.
Bianca Belair is the future.
We talked about that
out there. Bianca Belair is like if they do not strap a rocket to her back, they are crazy.
Yep.
She is amazing. Just like Velveteen Dream. Amazing.
I think she has a higher ceiling than Patrick Clark does.
Absolutely. There's no like Bianca Belair is like she's got crossover appeal on many different avenues.
Oh, agreed.
You could take her and put like, especially in the urban market.
Let's be real.
You know, like, cause she's going, of course, you know, if you're going with the mainstream market, she's well-spoken with the air quotes. But she could go to the urban markets and people are going to love her. She's got the look. She's got the crazy athleticism. And just as an aside, So I've been saying this for years.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the industries, when it comes to combat entertainment, being mixed martial arts, kickboxing, wrestling and pro wrestling, have kind of pigeonholed themselves away from getting certain talents because they have essentially not marketed towards said communities, right? The African American community, they really did not market towards, with mixed martial arts with the African American. Same thing with pro wrestling. When you have all of these really bad stereotypes that you use all the time, it's going to make people less likely to go into that because they saw how other people were treated. And you are missing out on a whole horde of talents of people of color because, you're only marketing to a very specific demographic. But, that's for another time.
Right.
Bianca Belair is the truth.
And you know how I know that she is the truth, beside the fact that she's crazy athletic, and you and I have been talking about her for months.
Mm-hmm.
It was, if you saw last week's NXT show, she wrestled Deonna Purrazzo in Deonna's first televised match. It was the pre-show from TakeOver. Bianca went clean.
Yeah.
They put her over clean. Let's be honest, an indie darling. And she won clean in her first televised match.
And looked good doing it.
In Brooklyn. So that's how I can tell WWE, at least NXT, realizes like, wait a minute.
We've got something here.
We got something here. Because that could have gone to somebody like Lacey Evans or Rhea Ripley, someone you barely see on television, and then wind up. Because I think it was Patrick Clark that beat the crap out of Leo Rush once when Leo made his television debut. It was Velveteen against him at an NXT taping.
Oh, yeah.
But this is different. This is a pay-per-view level crowd at Barclays having Bianca go over on Deonna Purrazzo, who in New York, the tri-state area, people know who she is.
Right. And they didn't complain about it either.
Nope. I didn't complain. I said, you know what? Good.
Right.
Because Deonna's going to be okay.
Right.
Bianca is someone that not everybody knows who she is, especially the casual WWE fan.
Right.
You're going to know now.
Right.
And please, I'm begging anyone out there, do not make the comparison between her and Naomi.
No, they're not. They are two completely different characters. Two different types of personas. There's a different type of swagger about them. Yep. It's just don't make the comparison. That's it. Like it'd be like trying to compare Naomi to Jacqueline. It just doesn't sync up.
And we know why people are doing it, because they're both African American women in professional wrestling. We get that. That's not even a pink elephant in the room.
Right.
But just don't do it just because they're black. Yeah. Don't just do it because, well, they're both two athletic black women. How about we just call them athletic women or athletic people?
Right.
And just say like they both do things well in their own way. And this is not meant to be a shot at Naomi, but I guarantee you Bianca will not be as botch prone
as Naomi is. Naomi is wildly athletic, but Bianca Belair is a different level of athleticism. And this is no shots at Naomi. Naomi was a cheerleader. I believe she did track and field way back in the day. Bianca Belair competed in the CrossFit Games.
Yes.
And was high level in the CrossFit Games. So she's legitimate with this stuff. Right. And it shows she is something special. She is really something special.
So if anyone and if anyone doesn't know Bianca Belair by now, go back and watch last year's Mae Young Classic against Kyrie.
Yeah.
I put that up there with a lot of her Stardom stuff.
Yeah.
As an entertaining match between two really, and she's still raw in that match, but you could see the potential and the fact that how many years? 2 years she's been in developmental? 3 years?
Yeah.
Tops?
2 years, I think. Yeah.
And listen, look at all the advancements she's done in 2 years.
Right.
So congrats to her.
Yeah. And for that to be the first match that we ever saw with her.
Yep.
And she was that good. And of course, yes, you had somebody like Kairi Sane, who is probably one of the safe for people to work with in the ring, that really is good at leading people during a match, like that was still really good. Mm-hmm. So yeah, she is the future.
I think that's a great point, and I'm just gonna throw in my thing about Patrick Clark of Velveteen Dream before I get out of here. I don't like his wrestling yet. Mm-hmm. His wrestling skills have not matched up to his presence.
Very true.
His character work is, I worry about it being one note because of every takeover. It's like Ravishing Rick Rude. Sure. Like, I get that that's the homage he's paying to, and make no mistake, he's paying an homage to Ravishing Rick Rude with the tights.
Absolutely.
If you think otherwise, you're stupid.
Yeah.
Yes, Jimi Hendrix, Prince, got that. All got that. But this match he had with EC3, underwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely.
The match he had with Cassius Ohno, underwhelming. The only good match he had at a takeover that it was one-on-one was with Aleister Black.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of it has to do with who he's wrestling.
Yes.
Like Aleister Black, they have great chemistry. And I know everybody loves Chris Hero. I've never thought he was that great. Even when he was Cassius Ohno in his original runs, I never really thought it was all that great. With EC3,
I don't like EC3.
EC3 is like, I get the aesthetic why people like it. I do not understand why what they like about him as far as like wrestling goes.
He's not a great in-ring guy. He's got the look. Let's just put that out there.
Right.
I asked when I was watching TakeOver, I asked Melissa, I'm like, is he on coke in his intro? Because I don't know what's happening right now.
Right.
Like, he came out pointing at his initials late, mind you, they popped up late on the screen after he pointed, and then he looks like he's on speed. Like, he's like Mojo Rawley levels of like cocaine infusion, and I don't know what to do with all that. Like, what's the gimmick? You're the top 1%, cool, but why are you coming out like you just left the club at like 4 a.m. and you want to go to fucking IHOP?
Oh yeah,
he's or Denny's
off them rails.
And I'm like, is this it? Right. Is this the big deal about EC3? And then that post-match promo, rambling incoherency.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't watch any of his TNA stuff, his Impact stuff.
But yeah, folks say that it was so great, and I'm like, I hope it was not great. Because I don't see it.
I don't see it. So that's my hot take. I don't see the big deal about EC3. Kairi Hojo is nowhere to be found right now in NXT. Mm-hmm. That is not my Kairi, as Civil would like to say. I'm a little scared about what they're going to do with Io Shirai, because they don't know how to book Japanese talent after they've left NXT. See Asuka.
Right.
And other than that,
and the thing is, the other thing too is like, I kind of wonder about with Asuka, because Asuka is a bit up there in age as far as like
36, I believe.
Yeah. So, and not just Asuka, but Shinsuke Nakamura as well. Yep. So Asuka's 36. Shinsuke is like 38.
Yeah, I believe he's 38.
38 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some of that, I don't think that's booking. I actually think that that might be them looking for their long-term health, as far as, because like, of course, you can only wrestle a certain, like, especially Shinsuke wrestling like the strong style for like the longest time.
Yes.
His body is a wreck. You know what I'm saying? Like, his body is an absolute mess. So like, I would not be surprised if a lot of this like holding pattern type stuff that they do is just to make sure that they stay healthy for stuff. Because that notion came to my head like recently, because I was like, it doesn't really make sense to have these, these type of properties at your disposal. It's got to be something more to it than just, we don't know how to book,
right,
Japanese folks. So, that's kind of my thing.
Okay. Also, and that's a good point. Mm-hmm.
Since you brought up Mojo Rawley, if there was anybody that I wanted to see either go back to NXT or just disappear from WWE, is Mojo Rawley. Like, who they want him to be? They're trying to have him be John Cena 2.0.
Wow.
So, all right, look back at John Cena when he first came on board, right?
Ruthless aggression.
Right. look at the gear that they had. Matches up pretty well. Right? Now, how does Mojo Rawley talk? And how did John Cena talk back in the day? They both got the black thing going on. So they are trying, like, I can feel the Johns, because he's all like back when John Cena was like heelish,
yes,
for a period of time. That's the exact type of stuff that they're having Mojo Rawley do now. And I'm like, ooh, they're trying to recreate it. It ain't gonna happen because Mojo Rawley is not John Cena.
No, and I would not believe Mojo Rawley if he starts rapping at all.
No, at all. Like, John Cena could spit. Like, y'all call me crazy if you want. John Cena had bars.
No, he did. I give him credit. Like, he had bars, and he was a decent lyricist, because there's footage even long before he did that rap for WWE of him rhyming like off the top of the dome with friends back in the day. You know, like, so it's not like he didn't know what he was doing. So the Dr. Thugonomics, which I still think is an all-time great character, just in general, because let's be honest, if a black person did that, it wouldn't gotten over. It got over because a white guy did it, and it was funny, and it was kind of different, and
that was his best theme.
Oh, bar none. Forget the
word life. This is basic thugonomics.
Oh yeah, no. Forget the current, with the MOP drop in the beginning. Like, no.
Like, when you when I would hear, so you think you're untouchable? I was fucking lit. That was it. So yeah, no, like, hands down, that's like top 3 themes of all time. Like, greatness, absolute greatness.
Yeah. So Mojo Rawley, you ain't John Cena. So WWE, stop it. Just stop it.
Exactly.
And Patrick Clark, Velveteen Dream, get your ass in gear, literally, to get better in the ring, because that Rainmaker elbow is horrible.
Yeah.
And depending on the size of your opponent, that Death Valley driver,
it
looks rough.
Yeah. And like, so this is the other thing. So from what it just looks like to me, he's been slimming down a bit.
Yes.
Like, he's dropped some of that muscle weight, because he had the beach body muscles for a long time.
He did. He had the pretty muscles. Yep.
Right. So like, it's more compact now. So I think some of it had like that performance that he had against EC3 might have been, this is a new body, still a new body to him, because he's not as much weight. But yeah, he's got to come up with his own, like, that Sister Abigail DDT thing that he does. That's dope. Like, that should be his finisher. That Rainmaker elbow, yes, he's wildly athletic and he gets crazy air, but it's like, okay, you're just doing, it's somebody else's move, right? Like, you are doing someone else's move. With Kyrie saying, like, that elbow still looks fire no matter what,
because the way she contorts her body to do that move, and when you see the point of the elbow connect, it looks like it freaking hurts.
Exactly. Like, it looks like death is happening when that happens. So yeah, I'm about that action.
I'm all about that life. But I think that's a good point for us to log off here. You've been listening, everybody, to Podcast Champs, myself, Dio. We want to say thank you. Dio, where can they find you on social medias?
I'm just DEO on Twitter and the Instagram. I put, like, if I go on vacation, I put a bunch of stuff up there, and yeah, I talk a lot of mess that can be backed up with facts on Twitter.
I can attest to this, because I love I love when you post something and I'm just like, yep. And don't you worry, folks. Damian G347. I'm going back to posting stupid, random, funny shit. And if you do stupid shit, I will call you out, because I'm no longer afraid to call you out anymore.
Yeah.
Enough of that shit. After talking with you and talking with Mimi and a few other people, nah, bruh. What brought me to this dance was me being who I am exactly. Mm-hmm. And for those that don't know, I have been signed on to work for a radio station down here in Dallas at night. My schedule still is being flushed out right now. So I'm a radio guy again.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be listening to Quiet Storm, Damian.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have the smooth operator, Damian, when I'm doing the Latin music from 9 to 11 on Tuesday nights here in Dallas.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. And I'm the least Latino dude to do that job. But you know what? More power to them for hiring me to do that. So you could find me in a lot of different places. Here, Salty Chips, which will be at All In, kind of doing our own thing on Instagram. It is an offshoot of the New Age Insiders, so I have a working relationship with them. I have my radio gigs. I also have my own stuff. So I am back, and it's good to be back. And shout out to Battle Club Pro for constantly, the dudes behind that promotion back in New York. They are always supporting me, rooting me on. They're good dudes. Go check out their shows. Go to Twitter or even Google Battle Club Pro based in the Bronx. They put on good work. All right, that's my 2 cents. But from Dio, from me, we love y'all. Don't be a dick, and we'll see you next time.
Oh yeah, if you say something dumb, run up and get done up.